What up, beautiful women? Wow. Okay, so this morning has just been a bit of a shambles, but today we're going to be talking about the 5 insane things that I used to do when I was stuck in my binge-restrict cycle that only kept me stuck for honestly like years and years and years longer. And these are the mistakes that I do not want you to make. But before we get stuck into today's episode, I am going to do a bit of client work. I'm going to then go for a run and come back, and then we're going to get stuck into everything. So I'm going to take you girls on my journey, and yeah, let's kick off this morning with a really great vibe. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Sherry, a food, relationship, and mindset coach, and I help girls stop their binge eating, stop their toxic food habits, and get back to feeling like themselves again, get back to feeling like they're present in their life. So if you're new here, please do not forget to hit subscribe. Also head on over to my Instagram at ready_with_Sherry, and yeah, let's get stuck into my day. So before we got stuck into the run, I obviously did some work admin things, and I just wrapped up a whole bunch of content as well. I always do this sort of start of the week and planning for the week ahead, just to make sure that you girls are constantly seeing my stuff and reminding yourself that you genuinely can break free. So if you guys aren't following me at the moment, just make sure you follow me on at @readywithsherry on Instagram for daily chats and all my stories and all the rest of it. But then I just did a little bit of Thrive community check-ins as well. The girls have 24/7 access across the chat, and so every single morning I come in to make sure that everyone is feeling settled and responded to and answering any questions. And then we actually also had the Thrive community call. Hello, my beautiful girls. Hello. Happy Wednesday. Guys, we're gonna wait a couple minutes and just see if anyone else wants to jump on, but good morning. And then we got stuck into the Thrive community call. So we have 3 of these every single week. They're either in the mornings or in the evenings, Australian time. So it works across every single time zone. And any girls that needs additional one-on-one support, they jump on the call and we literally chat through their situation, whether it be food related, mindset related, or even if it's body image or their relationship and something completely unrelated with food that could be leaking out into their food decisions. We chat through it together, right? And so this is really where having actually a support and a space where you can come to, where you can chat through things before it even spirals into a binge is so powerful. And it's honestly my favorite part of the week. It is so amazing to be able to connect with the girls like this, and it's just the most incredible community of girls. So I got stuck into this before I headed out for my run. Alrighty girls, let's have a bit of a chat. Holy crap. That was actually such a good run. I'm so stoked with myself. I have no idea if this is a very good angle or not. Oh my goodness, girls. That was such a good run. Holy moly, I told you girls that I'd take you on there, and holy crap. It was one of those runs where I don't set any expectations of myself. Sometimes, obviously I'm training for an ultra right now, which is going to be my longest run. The longest I've ever run has been about 21 kilometers. And this ultra is going to be 50. It is on flat, which thank goodness, because I'm not the best at hills yet. That is a to eventually do goal. But oh my goodness, I've been nursing an ankle injury for a little while now, and I'm just like trying to get back into long distances. And today was one of those runs where I didn't set any expectations of myself, coming back post injury and having taken about 6 to 8 weeks off running and gradually getting now into longer distances. It absolutely is crucial that I think for myself at the moment, I'm just pacing myself. I'm not expecting myself to do 25 Ks if my ankle doesn't feel as though it can do that. And so, holy crap, let's just like have a quick drink. Oh, yeah, that's pre-prepared. But yeah, so it means that at the moment I'm just trying to just ease into it and just see how far I can go and where my ankle starts to get up a little bit. And at the moment I'm sitting at that 12-15 K mark. Today I did 18, and that's where I stopped because I felt like I got a little bit of a niggle in my knee. I also didn't know why I did this to myself. But similar to when I'm in the Gold Coast or in Brisbane, I always prefer going out in the middle of the day. Something about it just make it harder for myself. Also just love getting a little bit of a rosy tan, may as well, what do you call it? Hit 2 birds with 1 stone. That saying, get a bit of a tan as well as being able to Yeah, obviously get my steps in and get my running in. But running is one of those really interesting things, and it was one of those things that actually also helped me with my binging. At the beginning, I thought that it sort of hindered my progress because of my mindset, and again, you girls know it always comes down to that, but my initial mindset was always, I have to burn as many calories as possible. And when you're stuck in that binge-restrict cycle, I was so hell-bent on burning as many calories as possible in order to mitigate any weight gain that was happening from my binges. But the moment that I shifted my mindset into really thinking about the version of me, the woman that was already binge-free, what would her exercise look like? She would be going out for runs. She wouldn't be overcompensating with her food. She wouldn't be undercompensating with her food. She'd be eating a little bit more if she was a bit hungrier because of the exercise, but also if she wasn't as hungry that day, she wouldn't expect herself to eat a fair bit more. And exercise should be an addition on top of a great wholesome diet. As soon as you start to really start playing around with your food, of course, if you're exercising heaps, of course, you might need a little bit more nutrients, but oftentimes, if we're eating a wholesome diet, you'll be able to manage your energy and you'll be able to manage your hunger and fullness cues if you simply just learn how to listen just that little bit. So the moment that I shifted my mentality to go, you know what, exercise is something that is in addition. If I'm eating a great day on my plate and also getting in my steps and a couple of extra, not even cardio sessions, but a couple of extra runs, not only for my body's health, but also my mental health, then of course I'm gonna start feeling better in my skin. Like the equation and the maths is gonna maths. And I didn't need to get into the super nitty gritty calories and the numbers. And the moment that I actually shifted that mentality and I promised myself this one thing, that I would no longer compensate with exercise. I was no longer going to be saying, I binged last night and then therefore I'm gonna get an extra workout in or I'm gonna get an extra 10,000 steps. The moment I stopped doing that, what it does is it stops you from having this wild card in your pocket, which is essentially a form of purging. It stops that wild card. It essentially creates a line in the sand that goes, no matter whether I binge or whether I don't, I do not touch my exercise. I do not use exercise as a tool to remove the calories that I, let's say, shouldn't have had. When you begin to do that, it creates almost an open door for you to go, well, I can binge or I can just have a little bit more and it doesn't matter. Because part of you is almost saying, well, I know that I can overcompensate with food. And that is a sort of, especially when you're coming out of a binge restrict cycle, it's a very gray and black, like a bit of a dangerous area to start playing with. So something that I always say with my girls and with my thrivers in the Thrive Academy is always drawing a very firm line at the beginning. The golden rule is there is no overcompensating the next day with exercise and there is no under eating the next day because of any binges. There is no playing with the wild card. The wild card is no longer there. The moment that you do that, what this does is it creates a full stop so that when your mind starts beginning to negotiate with the thoughts of having a binge, let's say it's 4 p.m. or it's 8 p.m. and you've had a great day of eating and then all of a sudden you have this urge and you have all these food thoughts. That's when the sort of monkey mind, the toddler, as we say in the Thrive Academy, starts beginning to negotiate. And it wants you to say, oh, well, it doesn't really matter because I can just not have breakfast tomorrow. I'll just have a coffee instead. It's not a big deal. I'll have one more. And you know what? I actually did an extra couple of steps today anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter. And you really tune out of what your body is actually needing and you start listening to all of these food thoughts and all of this head noise. And what we want to learn how to do is see those thoughts for what they are, which is essentially they're just thoughts. They're not real. They're not things you have to listen to. They're not things that you have to follow and let yourself actually act out. You can simply choose to see those thoughts for what they are, which is essentially a neural pathway in your brain that's just pinging and asking you, hey, do you want to repeat what you did last time? And when you know that there is no restriction coming the next day, there is no overcompensating allowed tomorrow, it creates a full stop where you're like, well, you know what? There is no wild card anymore, which places a huge degree of importance on your next food choice, meaning that we have to take radical responsibility for the next food decisions that you choose to make in this moment, which is a beautiful freaking thing, right? When we can actually go, you know what? My food choice right now in this moment is actually quite important because it is something that I can't escape from. It's not something that I can undo later. And I get to, and this is the key part, girls, is that you get to make an aligned decision in this moment right now with food, right? Let's say it's 9 p.m. and you have an option to go through door number 1, as I always say, which is to repeat the past behavior and just listen to the thoughts and hit the fuck a button, or you get to go through door number 2. And door number 2 is that entire notion of right now in this moment, I can close the gap between who I am and who I want to be simply through the next decision. No, I'm not going to look or feel exactly like her just yet, but over time, if I continue to do what she would do, over time, we can appreciate that naturally you would eventually be like her and you would look like her, you would think like her, you'd manage your stress like her, and that would feel pretty automatic, right? So what we have to start doing is in these moments when you have all of these food thoughts, no wild card, meaning this moment right now is the moment where I get to decide who I'm going to be. And the more that you do that, right, the more that those decisions become automatic, and the more that you're going to eventually become, and essentially the woman that you want to be, which is intentional, grounded, really responsible with her decisions. And it's not out of a degree of force, it's simply because your entire focus is on what is actually going to make you feel proud, what is going to make you feel your best. And we're no longer allowing the thoughts of, well, you know what, I can just start again tomorrow. We're not allowing that to dictate anything, because the truth is that you can't start again tomorrow, and you're making sure that you are not using exercise, you're not overcompensating, and you're not under eating, right? There is no form of purging occurring. So all that to be said, that was a huge pivotal thing that I did when I chose to exit my binge-restrict cycle and actually heal my relationship with food. That was a pivotal moment where I told myself that I was no longer using exercise as a wild card. Exercise was something that was in addition, meaning that the biggest important part was my food choices, and I had to get that under wraps. And it was meaning that my mindset with my food choices was the biggest key. My mindset had to be that my food choices mattered. I did not have to get into the nitty-gritties and the numbers and the macros and all the rest of it. I simply had to honor my cravings, eat in a gently structured way throughout the day, which is what I do with my Thrivers, and just focus on basic portions and focus on not under eating, focusing on making sure my meals were balanced. I had a nice 80-20 balance, and I was still having a little bit of fun food either in the afternoon or in the evening, not overcomplicating it, and learning how to listen to my 80% fullness, which is what I teach my girls within Thrive, learning how to meet that level of fullness and satisfaction without going overboard, but then we can begin to erode the joy and the comfort and the satisfaction that we've gotten from that meal. So if there are things you want to learn about, that is obviously what I teach in Thrive. But we're getting into the nature of today's video, where I am going to be talking about, well, just me holding my sock, but we're getting into the nature of today's video, which is about the 5 crazy things that I did when I was stuck in my binge-restrict cycle, and how eventually I did get out of it. So also, for any of you guys that are interested, obviously I mentioned that I'm training for an ultra, my first ultra, and so yeah, today was an example where the moment that I stopped using it as a wild card. Running is such a pivotal part and can be such a useful tool when it comes to eradicating your binge-restrict cycle and getting out of it, because what running does is it teaches you how to listen to your thoughts and how to realize that they are just thoughts. They are just a part of you, your limbic system, your toddler, however you want to frame it, your monkey mind, trying to keep you in your comfort zone. And that's essentially the same thing that's happening when you're binging. So the benefit of learning how to get, not even become a runner. Everyone is a runner. If you run 500 meters, you're a runner. If you run 5 minutes, you're a runner. If you run 500 kilometers, you're a runner. Essentially, right, this is why I love running so much, is because anyone can do it. You don't need anything special. You just need a pair of any kind of runners and some socks, and you're good to go. You don't need a special running vest. You don't need gels, and you don't need an Apple Watch. You don't need anything, right? Have your phone, download Strava if you really want to start recording them. But at the end of the day, you can run 500 meters and literally work your way up from there. You don't need fancy glasses or anything like that. You honestly don't need anything. Of course, all those things help, and they make you feel like fucking badass when you're in all your gear and everything. I honestly feel like that's why I'm doing long distance at the moment, because it just feels like an absolute vibe. You're like, yeah. But essentially, right, it teaches you how to listen to those thoughts that are telling you to just do something, right? Whether that's to binge, or whether that is obviously when you're running to stop, when you sort of start becoming a little bit uncomfortable, or you sort of reach your mental limitations. If you're like, oh, today, for instance, I haven't run 18 kilometers for a little while. A couple of weeks ago, I ran at 20, but since I've been in France, I haven't run anything more than a 13. And so my mind kind of hit the 15 mark, and I was like, I can stop now. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll do 30 kilometers. And then I obviously am trying to manage my injury. So I just kind of allowed my body to begin to tell me where it started to almost feel like it was kind of, for lack of a term, breaking down a little bit. And I'm obviously trying to manage where I push and when I push. And I don't think that I should be pushing just yet. But what I'm getting at here is being able to see your thoughts that are telling you to stop, or essentially to do something, and being able to see them for what they are, which is your thoughts. It's just your limbic system, your toddler trying to keep you in your comfort zone. And running really teaches you to see those thoughts and realize that you can override them, and allowing yourself to really combat them and come back in to be like, yeah, okay, this is my limbic system. It's telling me this is my comfort zone. What would happen if I just nudged it over here a little bit? What if I just kind of did an extra 500 meters and just kind of see how I went? Oh, that feels pretty good. Let me see if I can get another 200 meters. Let me just run to one more song. Let me put another podcast on. Let me just notice my breathing for the next 30 seconds. And let me just start thinking about next week and whatever may be the thing. And what you end up realizing is that you have so much power over your thoughts. And that's essentially the same mentality that you can then bring in to the other part of your life, being your binge-restrict cycle, or honestly anything that feels a bit uncomfortable, whether you're working on managing your emotions better, seeing your natural inclination to do something, whether that might be overreact or get emotional or whatever, and be able to see that initial impulse, see your limbic system wanting you to repeat the past behavior you've done before or stay in your comfort zone, and simply choosing to override that, simply choosing, you know, whether you're in an argument with someone, and it could be learning how to override that emotional moment and to like allow yourself to sort of become quite calm. That's something that I'm working on so much, because, you know, everyone has that natural inclination in those moments whenever you essentially get triggered in any kind of way. Binge-Restrict cycle, relationship, it could be with business, it could be with work, it could be with anything, honestly. But you essentially get triggered in some way, and learning how to override that, running is a huge catalyst almost to sort of refining that skill. So if that's something that you want to start doing, I definitely would recommend it for sure. And at the end of the day, a lot of people ask me like, how do you get stuck into running, or how do you initially get stuck into running? I honestly started running like 500 meters, and then I got super proud, and then I'd run 1 kilometer on the treadmill, and then I ended up running 1.5 kilometers, and then bit by bit I literally just built it up until I'd be like, okay, I'm going to run to 3 songs, I'm going to run to 5 songs, I'm going to run to my favorite song 10 times, and bit by bit you eventually find little ways that make it really fun for you. And running outside is obviously something that I've started to do since I was in the Gold Coast and in Queensland, because I used to live in Melbourne. Now I live in Queensland, and it's the beautiful weather, so you can honestly run like the entire year. And obviously right now being in Europe, it means that I can run and explore the city, and that's like my favorite way to explore any place at all. So all that to be said, if you are wanting to find a way to really learn how to sort of disentangle yourself from your thoughts and become a bit more powerful with your thoughts, running is such an important, or it's such a critical thing that you can use. And of course it is 100% free. So it kind of just brings up it refines your skill of thought awareness, and it makes you realize that we have plenty of thoughts that we do not have to listen to. You can become so much more powerful, and it's really important that you learn how to see your thoughts and ask yourself, you know, if you really want to dissect it, is this just a thought, like a cloud in the sky that I can just let pass by? And it's just a, you know, part of my brain going, hey, do you want to repeat this habit? Or is this actually a useful thought, and I can actually look at it, unpack it? Is it true? Is it not true? Is it useful? Is it helping? Is it hindering me? And, you know, the fact that I'm having this thought, is this indicative of something, or is it simply, is it just part of my brain being like, hey, this situation is familiar to how it was last time? Then you can further unpack it. So just remember, guys, your thoughts are not 100% factual. They're not 100% real. We need to learn how to see your thoughts and get curious. Same goes with your emotions, learning how to see your emotions and get curious as to, has this emotion just popped up because the situation is quite similar to a situation in the past, or has one little thing triggered me to feel a certain kind of way and now I'm projecting, or, you know, is your emotion actually feedback to how the situation is actually making you feel? And as I always say, your feelings are feedback to help you understand, maybe to guide your next decision. So let's dive in. I'm going to get in a little bit more comfy clothes, have a bit of a shower first, and then we'll sit down and we'll talk about it together.
You know what, girls? I'm also just gonna say like fuck it and just like show you girls like the reality of, I don't know, like if you guys follow me on Instagram or whatever, like it's really easy to think that people look like how they look when they take a photo or whatever. Guys, my skin is so bad. I've had a couple of stressful months recently, and like my neck always breaks out in like pimples, and like my face and like my hairline is like really flaky, and I don't know if that's from stress or it's from like the water here in Europe, I don't know, but like, oh guys, you know when you just feel like a little bit less than, like that's how I'm feeling right now. And that's, again, just talk back about the running literally just makes me feel like, I don't know, it just quietens my mind. It helps me feel a little bit more connected to myself, which is why like when you have an injury, we all know what it feels like. It's just like really awful, because sometimes it can just feel like you can't do what you want to do. Oh, I have like a really weird pain in my side right now. Anyway, I just wanted to like show you girls that, because like at the end of the day, hold on, I got this new hair cream to try and like help with my hair situation. I'm like on a runner's high right now. I need some food ASAP. I'm trying to like get my curls back at the moment, because I didn't bring any curl cream with me, because I just buy some here, but I don't understand half the crap what the bottles say, so I don't really know. So this one says booklet, and so I think that means bookles. No, I think that means I think it means for like curly hair. And it's like some kind of like avocado oil. I think it says avocado on it, and there's a picture of an avocado. So we're gonna see what it does. Probably won't do anything fancy, but yeah. Anyway, all part of self-care, girls, is deliberately doing the things that can try and make you feel a bit more like you. Again, this is one of the things that, maybe this is one of the crazy things I did when I was stuck in my Binge-Restrict cycle, to get stuck into the episode today, is that I really started to focus on my self-care. One of the crazy things I did was let go of all my self-care. I literally would just, like, honestly, I would just not shower that often. I would not want to be like essentially naked with myself in the shower, and so I like literally put off showering. I like didn't do my makeup. I didn't buy myself nice clothes. I told myself that I would once I'd lost the binging weight. But unfortunately what that does, right, just makes you feel even shitter about the fact that you've gained weight, makes you feel disgusting and like none of your clothes fit you. It's like a reminder every day when your jeans are so tight that you need to lose weight, and it puts a huge amount of pressure on yourself. And so if that's you right now, I just really want to invite you, like getting stuck into, maybe that's point number one for today. Just point number one is the crazy thing that I did was literally like over my self-care. So if that's you right now, my biggest recommendation to support you is very much just stop being an ass to yourself and deliberately give yourself permission to just be nice and do some self-care things that you know are going to make you feel that little bit better. Even, you know, that maybe that, no, they're not going to change the fact that you've gained 10 kilos from your binging, but is it going to maybe make your emotional state a little bit more lighter? Is it maybe going to make you feel a little bit more like you care about yourself? Is it maybe going to just make you feel a little bit less shit about where you're at right now? And the answer is yes. It's going to, of course, as well, reinforce to you that someone like you deserves love, care, and attention. And sometimes like when other people try and give it to us, it doesn't even feel natural because we're like, I don't even give that to myself. I don't even, on some deep level, I don't believe that I deserve that. And I believe that I'll only get to feeling like that when I do look a certain way. But some way that you can break that limiting belief is actually to go, you know what? I don't feel the greatest in my skin. I'm not super proud of how I've been navigating my food, but you know what? I'm trying. And part of me trying is to do everything I can, food related and also not food related, to help myself feel as best as I possibly can that has nothing to do with food. If you continue to disregard your self-care, you will continue to do something, aka lean on food, to help yourself feel better, right? Food will continue to feel as though it's the only crutch of what makes you feel better, as opposed to going, hey, you know what, when you wear a cute outfit, when you put your makeup on, when you, you know, do your skincare routine, no, maybe you don't feel 100% better, but maybe you feel 50% better. Maybe you feel, honestly, I've been saying this recently for myself, even if I feel 2 or 3% better than I do right now, is that still not worth it? Because over time, that 3% will compound, and over time, I will naturally feel a little bit better, and better. And the answer is like, of course it's fucking worth it. And even when I feel like it's not worth it, I still give myself a kick up the bum, and I still will do whatever it is that was required. So I will still go fucking take a shower. I will still do my skincare routine. I will go brush my teeth. I will make my bed. I will clean my apartment. I will do what's required. I will go for a fucking mental health walk if I have to. I'll do those things, and off the back of it, right, sometimes I don't feel that much better. But what I've done is I've reinforced to myself that even when I don't feel the greatest, even when I feel like I don't look the greatest, I am still that person that deserves care, love, and attention. And that breaks the limiting belief that someone like you, currently as you are, is unlovable, and then, oh my gosh, and like, you know, then we have all these limiting beliefs and all this degree of like self-perception that is just absolutely shit. And so that is my biggest recommendation right now. One of the crazy things that I did was let go of all my self-care because I wanted to lose weight first, and then I'd be happy, and then I'll do all these things. Do all these things beforehand. So key takeaway from point number one is, what do you right now, what have you slipped? And if you think back to a version of yourself that felt way more incredible than she does now, what was she doing? What was she doing? Was it a morning walk, and then she'd have a shower and she'd do her cute hair, and then she'd put on like a little bit of lip liner and go to work? Is that what she was doing when she felt fucking incredible? Amazing. Why aren't you doing that now? Because I'm probably guessing that it's because you don't feel that great, and it's because you're stuck in this rut. Okay, well, you're stuck in the rut because you're not doing the little things that actually supported you in feeling that little bit better. Okay, so go and take that away of what are some of the little things right now that if I did feel incredible, if I felt like I looked the way that I wanted to, what are some of the things that I'd be doing that would be part of my everyday lifestyle that I'm not currently doing? Go do those. Now let's get stuck into point number 2.
So we just chatted in the bathroom about one of the crazy things that I would do when I was stuck in my Binge-Restrict cycle that only made it worse, and that was eradicating my self-care. And so I like finally just like really hammered this home, girls. Really, please do make sure that you are doing everything you can from a self-care perspective. I know that you think that in putting it off, you'll do it when you XYZ, but trust me, if you put off traveling, if you put off saying yes to your girlfriends and going out socially, if you put off getting that new lip liner that you want, if you put off getting yourself a new pair of jeans that actually freaking fits you so that your waistband can stop sticking into you, if you're going to continue to do that, you're just going to continue to feel really shit about yourself. And at the end of the day, we have to choose to do everything we can to feel better about ourselves, right? And I know that you think, and maybe there's a limiting belief there about, well, even when I do these things, it's not going to make me feel any better because I need to lose weight. But trust me, if we extrapolate that out, what we're going to realize is that if you were losing weight already, you would be feeling a bit better about yourself. And if we want to feel better about ourselves now, what are the little things that we can do to feel better about ourselves so that we stop leaning on food to feel better, right? If you already felt better, you would feel less reliant on food to bring your dopamine levels up. And this is why I always say to my girls inside Thrive and my clients is making sure that we prioritize genuine dopamine, things that actually make you feel good, like a shower, doing your hair, doing your makeup, going on a Hinge date, doing little acts of kindness for your parents, whatever is the thing. Deliberately choosing to do these things in advance of you feeling incredible in your skin again and losing weight is actually going to give you more of the outcome that you're actually wanting. So all that to be said, let's dive into point number 2. Now, I know that you would have heard this before, but I would just tell myself that I'll start again on Monday. This is the biggest trap ever. And oftentimes it comes because we think about time in like 7-day blocks, right? And we think about it also in like a 5-2 block. So there's 5 days throughout the week and then 2 days on a weekend. And so what tends to happen for most binge eaters or emotional eaters or just people that feel like they're being really wishy-washy with their food is that you think about your time on a Monday to Friday spectrum and then also from like a Friday night to like a Sunday vibe. And then so if you get 5 days really, really good, sometimes your mind can begin to focus on, well, I did really great this week. I deserve to have a bit of flexibility this weekend. But the thing that trips you up every time is that all or nothing mindset, meaning that the moment that you get a little bit flexible or a little bit less rigid, or you have something fun, you go out for an Aperol, you say yes to a Kit Kat in the evening, maybe you have 3 rows instead of 2, your mind immediately goes, well, I'll start again on Monday. And because odds are you're a very disciplined person, maybe in various areas of your life, but also maybe you've been very disciplined in the past, what you'll probably feel is that you can really pull on discipline when you need to. That's probably very evident as well, because maybe you're someone right now that restricts really heavily sometimes, and you do notice results. And let's be honest, they're not really results because they're not steadfast. They're literally just like a degree of water weight, because maybe you have a couple of days of really low calorie days and you go for these huge runs. It's not actually fat loss that you're experiencing. So you may feel instantly better. And what's actually happened is you've got like this spark of motivation, but then oftentimes your energy crashes. And then what tends to happen is our cravings go up and then you end up hitting the fuck up button anyway. And so what we need to begin to do here, and so what I want to invite you to do is similar to what I used to do, which is just think about time in less 5-2 and less 7. And think about your days more so as just individual blocks of 24 hours that are going to continuously be extrapolated out essentially till the day that you die. And stop thinking about things on a Monday to Friday or a Friday to Sunday spectrum anymore. We want to start thinking and recognizing that, like right now today when I'm filming this, what is it today? It's like a Thursday, it's a Wednesday. And so we want to recognize, right, that like, well, what if today was a Monday, right? What if today was a Sunday? Can I not decide to treat myself as though the day actually didn't matter? And what I want to focus on is my values and executing my values and living this healthy lifestyle that I do have, where every day is a degree of 80-20, right? So I'm not focusing on getting today perfect and being clean eating and all the rest of it. And I'm not then focusing on blowing out on the weekends. I have a little bit of fun interspersed between my days, between my weeks, and that gives me a variety of flexibility, right? And I don't focus on what day it is and what time of the month that it is. I don't start again every month. I started to view my time as individual days where I would simply just have the next 24-hour block to practice a beautiful degree of 80-20, move my body beautifully, navigate my mindset, be really resilient, notice when my all or nothing mindset will kick in, and remind myself the critical part here is that right now, as I was saying before, when I was sitting down on the floor, that right now is the moment that counts. There is no starting again tomorrow, because is right now not the tomorrow that you told yourself about yesterday, right? Like really let that land. Is right now not the tomorrow that you told yourself about yesterday, I'll start again tomorrow. That's what you've already said. And so what we want to begin to do is really just see that pattern. Am I telling myself the same stuff? And am I doing the same thing that I have always done? Yes. And so the only way that we're going to get binge free is if we choose to do something different. So what we need to do here is see that all or nothing, see that I'll start again on Monday, I'll start again tomorrow, and simply go, no. But this is where you want to really recognize that you do not have to get the right now perfect. Simply get curious as to what the best version of yourself would do in this moment. Would she maybe say yes to the slice of cake? But what she would do is that she wouldn't have the slice of cake and then allow her all or nothing mentality to then spur her on and then hit the fucker button, right? She would navigate that moment
moment, she'd say yes, and then she'd be ready, if she did have excessive food thoughts, to draw a beautiful line of love in the sand and go, you know what? There's that all or nothing. There's that thought, which is just a thought, telling me to fully send it now and have the entire cake in front of me. Let me see that thought and let me practice going through door number 2 and doing something differently in this moment. So if you're also someone right now that is noticing that you're doing that crazy thing of going, I'll start again on Monday, I'll start again tomorrow, see that thought, see it for what it is, which is simply the part of your brain, the limbic system, the toddler, asking you, do you want to do what feels familiar? Do you want to repeat this behavior? Do you want to repeat this habit? It's not you, it's just a little part of your brain that's pinging. You get to choose to go, you know what, this time, not forever, just right now, can I just simply practice seeing that thought? And today I'm going to choose to go through door number 2, and I'm just going to see off the back of that how I feel tomorrow morning. The key reminder here is to remember that you are eating again tomorrow for breakfast. There is more food coming. You need to really punch that line into your sweet little mind, because otherwise your brain will essentially go into a state of restriction. I'll be like, oh my God, she's going to restrict. And you're not. We know this because, as we were saying on the floor before, there is no wild card now, right? There is no wild card of like, oh, well, I just don't have to have breakfast. No. You're going to bed and you're having a beautiful breakfast in the morning. So we can remind ourselves of that. We can have the row of chocolate and then head to bed. We do not need to start again tomorrow because your decision right now matters the most. So let's get into point number 3. So point number 3, the third crazy stuff that I did when I was stuck in my Binge-Restrict cycle was I would shove wrappers down the side of the bin, and I'd be really sneaky with my food, and I would like take out the trash in the morning. I'd be essentially just really sneaky with my food, and I would kind of just think about it as though I was like hiding it from the people like that around me that may see. But the more that I thought about it, the more that I was actually just like hiding the evidence from myself, and I was using it as a degree of motivation to be like, okay, all of my granola in the bottom of the trash can, taking that trash can, putting it in the bin. And I would use that as a degree of like, okay, line in the sand. But what I really want you to focus on in these moments, because that for me held a huge degree of shame, and oftentimes it can just feel really disgusting, but we can feel as though when we sort of get rid of the evidence, it can make us feel a bit better because it feels as though like, okay, that's it. But let's be honest, right? It's never that's it. We're going to buy the chips again. We're going to buy the packet of Tim Tams again. We simply need to choose to do it differently in these moments and choose to practice not going into the all or nothing and not fully sending it. And so what I'd really love you to do next time, if you do notice that you are wanting to hide certain things, just remember it always starts with a very small decision, right? So it would never be like I would just full-flown binge and then I'd have like granola packets and Tim Tam packets and Maltesers. I would eventually get there. But if I thought back, it literally started with me being secretive about one thing, right? So for instance, it might be like a bread roll at dinner that I told myself that I shouldn't have. I was worried that someone would watch me eat it. And then I would end up like quickly having it almost in secret, or I would have it as everyone else went to bed. I would go back and I'd have that bread roll. And so oftentimes the sneaky behavior, it's not this big sneaky behavior of me putting out the trash and all of my trash cans being filled with nonsense or all these binging foods. Those moments would essentially all start with me making one sneaky decision. So what I would want you to practice here, if you're noticing this is something that you're currently doing, is when you begin to notice that you're feeling sneaky, I want you to take a big deep breath and I want you to practice my 90-second method. And that's simply 90 seconds, giving yourself 90 seconds for your limbic system, so your toddler brain to go overcharged, which is when we essentially notice that we're heightened or we're overwhelmed or we feel really food focused. And bring yourself back to who it is that you and I are right now. You listening to this where you're interested, hopefully, and not passive, and you're thinking about things and you're thinking as the real you, as someone who is motivated and driven and disciplined and wanting to improve her relationship with food. I want you to deliberately focus in these moments on not being sneaky and reminding yourself that if you're getting sneaky, simply get curious. Why am I being sneaky about this? What do I believe about what I'm about to eat that I believe is something that I shouldn't be having? And if you do feel as though there's a part of you that's like, I really shouldn't be having this, I want you to flip that and go, well, I know that I can have this. No one's saying that I can't, but why is there a part of me that doesn't want me to have this? Because it's not that I shouldn't do this. Let's validate there's a part of me that does want to have this, but the fact that you're in some way wanting to hold back on not eating that thing shows that maybe there's a part of you that doesn't want you to actually have it, right? And so we can just get curious with that, right? Again, it may be valid. It might be the fact that you are full and that you don't want a second, third, or fourth bread roll, but it could also be the fact that you're about to have that one bread roll and you're being sneaky and you can go, wait, why am I not having this? Is it because I believe the bread is bad? Is it that I believe that someone is going to judge me for having this bread roll? And simply really then asking yourself the question of, if I wasn't sneaky about this, could I instead be proud of this food choice? right? So let's say, for instance, we're down the 2, 3, 4 bread rolls and you're getting sneaky, going, can I be proud of this choice? And if the answer is no, and if you really feel in your gut that the answer is no, that's where we want to draw that line of love. And that's essentially a firm line in our mind of going, I can have this. No one's saying that I can't. However, can I use this moment as a reference to see the thoughts in my mind that are wanting me to go overboard and see that for what it is, and come back and give space and hold space for the part of me that doesn't actually want to go overboard? The only reason that we're pausing in this moment is because there's actually a part of you that doesn't actually desire for you to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bread rolls, right? So this is where if we ask ourselves that question though, let's say for instance, we're about to have that 1 bread roll. Again, there's nothing wrong with having 2, sometimes I have 2. But let's say an example is like, let's say we're having the first bread roll and you're immediately starting to get sneaky in this first initial choice. What we want to do is have a huge degree of transparency and integrity with ourselves. And that's what we're practicing here, going, okay, why do I feel like I'm being sneaky with this? Is this a choice that actually I feel is going to positively benefit me and benefit me in a positive way? And right, having a bread roll with your soup and with your glass of wine at dinner with your family, is this something that's going to positively benefit me? Yes. Okay. I'm practicing having a more wholesome diet. I'm practicing not just having like no carbs at dinner. I'm practicing having 1 bread roll and being fine with that and noticing the fullness that I feel and being comfortable with that, knowing that if I satisfy myself right now, I'm probably going to feel less inclined to fully send it later. This can be a beautiful moment where I build up a reference point for the fact that I can have something that I wouldn't have had in the past, and it does not have to turn into a binge. And I'm going to use this moment as a reference. And this is where, can we see how in the past it would have maybe felt like a sneaky behavior? We would have maybe said no to the bread roll, and then we would have maybe, everyone's tidying up, and then we shove the bread roll in our mouth, and then whatever it may be. And that spirals a degree of extra sneakiness, right? But what I want us to remember is that we're not doing this for other people. We're doing this so that you can become more and more transparent with yourself. And what that does is it essentially, again, it puts a full stop, right? Where we're going to be a lot less likely to then continue that sneaky behavior later on. Because at the end of the day, there is no worse feeling than essentially it's like midnight, everyone's asleep, and then you've had all this additional food, and then you're shoving it down the trash can and then putting the trash out, hoping that no one sees it, putting it underneath everything, or hiding it, like hiding your Kit Kat wrappers in a shoebox. That's something that I used to do when I was living at home way back when. And it's just the worst feeling ever, because you're like so filled with shame and regret, and you end up just feeling like you just can't even trust yourself around these foods. But building self-trust all starts with one small step. And so if we can come back and notice when that sneaky behavior begins, that's when we can just simply choose to put that full stop and go, I'm not going to be sneaky. I'm going to be transparent with myself. Does this feel like a great choice? Yes or no? If it's yes, fantastic, let's do it. If it's no, reminding myself that I can still make this choice if I want to, but the fact that I'm pausing shows me and indicates to myself that there's a part of me that doesn't actually want to make this choice. And so let me take a big deep breath, let me practice 90 seconds, and then let me choose to embody the version of myself right now in this moment that is actually wanting to take a step forward and to actually treat her body and her mind and her heart space with the absolute best levels of self-care. Now, that being said, let's get into point number 4. So the fourth crazy thing that I would do is that I'd be getting off the tram coming home from school or coming home from uni or even work, because my binging lasted for about 8 years. And I would go to Woolies and I would buy all of these foods that I knew that I was going to binge on. And I would tell myself that I'm not going to binge on them. And I would honestly spend like $50, $80. This is AUD at the time. So this would honestly be $100 now AUD on a single binge. And I would honestly do this probably 2 or 3 times a week when it got really bad, or multiple times across a weekend. And I would essentially just get off the tram. I'd go into Woolworths, so the supermarket, and I would literally just spend all this money, and I'd get back on the tram and I would eat all of these foods all in one go before I would get home. And at the end of the day, it was crazy, right? But I always used to get curious as to like, why am I doing this? Because I used to think like I'd been good all day. I'd restricted my calories all day. I was on track to lose weight. And at this point, right, I'm sitting at probably about plus 25 kgs versus what I was about sort of 6 months earlier. And so you can imagine I looked very different. My school clothes and my work clothes fit me extremely differently at this time. And my workout clothes didn't fit. I literally looked like a very different person than who I was before. And more than anything else, right, looks aside, I just felt like a really shitty version of myself, right? I felt completely beside myself. And so I was restricting my calories so heavily in order to try and get myself to look the way that I wanted to look again, but I wasn't focusing on how I was feeling, right? So the crazy thing was I was getting off the tram, and after this huge day of restriction, I would literally go buy all of these foods to binge on and literally go home and think about, why did I do that? I was having such a great day. Why am I so not disciplined and so weak? And this is such a common thing that I see with women in this space, is that we internalize it and we make ourselves feel crazy and not disciplined enough and not consistent enough, all because we are not able to follow through for the remainder of the afternoon. But what's actually happened is that you've put yourself into such a state of restriction that you're so food focused, you're so hungry, you cannot think about anything other than having another snack. And then you're expecting yourself to go home to your kids and be patient and make dinner and feel all this deep levels of self-control and this deep internal peace with your partner and all the rest of it. But really you're fighting like the toddler part of your mind. You're fighting the part of yourself that's literally on 900 calories coming into dinner when you've already gone to the gym that day and you haven't put yourself in a great position, right? And then the moment that you have, whether you're coming home, right, on the tram, or put the kids to bed and your husband's gone to the office or he's getting ready for bed, and you're tidying up the kitchen and you have 20 minutes by yourself, and then you end up shoving multiple granola bars into your mouth. These moments are not because you are not weak or not disciplined. It's because you have restricted so dang heavily throughout the day. Or even if you haven't, you probably are mentally restricting, meaning that you are telling yourself that these granola bars or this granola packet, or sorry, my nose is so itchy. Or you're telling yourself that whatever you're binging on is bad for you, that you cannot have it. And so the one moment that you feel like there's a possibility of you having it, you end up going into that all or nothing again, and you end up shoving it all in your mouth in one go because you tell yourself again that same story of I'll be better tomorrow. But if you are noticing that you're having these big blowout moments, it's a clear sign that we need to do a couple of things. We need to increase your current variety in your food, meaning that your current day on a plate, week on a plate, we want to be including some of these foods you're currently binging on. And I know that can feel very scary because right now they feel like binge foods, but the reason they feel like binge foods, the moment that you are having them, your brain literally associates them with a binge, with going hard, all or nothing mindset kicks in. You tell yourself you start again tomorrow, and then the same loop repeats itself. Can we see that this is the exact same pattern? So what we want to do is increase our variety with our foods and deliberately have some of these foods more so incorporated now into our everyday lifestyle. So if you're noticing right now that you're going so hard on the Kit Kat, great. Can we actually have 2 rows every evening as your dessert at the moment? Can we food pair it and have it as your afternoon snack with an apple or a banana and a Chobani yogurt, and deliberately take them off the pedestal, and instead of just having them and saving them for the next binge, choose to deliberately be that courageous woman and start incorporating it, chopping up a piece of Kit Kat into your breakfast and really allowing your brain to go, this is an okay food. It's not bad. It's not off limits. And by me deliberately having more of this food, I'm essentially going to be ensuring that my brain doesn't look at it as special in some way. It's going to then not trigger this like heightened version of myself that thinks I need to go all out. This is really important. So if you're noticing right now, as I mentioned, that you're having these blowout moments, increasing the variety and increasing the amount of these bingey foods that you're currently having into your day is very important to take it off of the pedestal. The second thing that I want you to also look at is deliberately having a look at your current levels of honestly your calorie intake and making sure that you're actually having enough. And I know this feels scary because I know that currently if you're binging, you're currently wanting to lose weight, or you just want to feel better in your skin and your body image is probably pretty dang shit like mine was too. At the end of the day, what we want to remember is that yes, the numbers do matter. You girls know that I'm not that like hashtag food freedom coach that's like eat anything you want all of the time, because totally, right? We can't have donuts every single day for every single meal. You're going to feel like shit. You're going to be bloated. Your digestive system's going to be completely crap. Your energy is going to be low. You're not even like and then on top of that, right? At the end of the day, yes, if you're having heaps of these additional things and having crazy big portions just because you can and you deserve it, totally, you're not going to feel great in your skin. So the numbers do matter. But the thing that gets everyone trapped in this moment is that we tend to think that they matter so much that they're the only metric that we need to be measuring. And what then happens is we've tapped so far out of your hunger and fullness cues that you're eating calories when you're not hungry, and then you're not eating when you are hungry, and you're not trusting your body. You're now trusting an app to tell you what you should and should not be having and when you should or should not be having it. An example, right, is that today I always follow a GFS, which is what I do inside my 12-week program with my girls. It's a basic food structure, meaning that we literally just follow a little bit of a simple flow with your food. Meaning breakfast, lunch, snack, dessert. You don't need to have a certain timing that you have those. If you wake up and you're not hungry, you just want to eat within a certain couple of hours. If you're exercising, I definitely recommend having a little snack prior to that to make sure your cortisol levels are down and you actually have proper sustenance. It's really good for your female hormone health. But apart from that, we're making sure that we are having lunch, we're making sure we're having a snack in the afternoon, a dinner, and then a deliberate dessert. And when we do this, what it is, it makes sure that we're not going too long without, sorry, the dog barking outside, but we're making sure that we're not going too long without actually having some more influxes of food. Now, everyone tends to, or usually around week 6 in my 12-week program, they tend to start like moving this around a little bit because they start realizing that they can trust their hunger and their fullness cues way more than they ever have before. But you do need some degree of structure to begin with. Now, the reason this is very important is because at the end of the day, if you're following a GFS and you're having basic calories, right? And I usually always say your main meals, right, we want to be 400 to 500, and then usually dinner is around that 600 calorie mark. If you simply just follow that basic structure for a couple of weeks, yes, it's probably more than what you're currently having right now if you're currently in a restrictive mindset. But what we want to recognize is that even right now, if you're like, but Sherry, I'm restricting and I'm on 1200 calories, babe, you're not actually on 1200 calories, because every Friday and Saturday you're having 3000 calories, and you think that your run the next day should be mitigating that. But at the end of the day, you cannot outrun a bad diet. And I know that you've heard this before. I heard this so much, and I'd be like, nah, that's BS, because me getting in an extra 10-kilometer run, of course that would have burned 600 calories. And then, if I just don't binge tomorrow and I just have another restrictive day, then that kind of mitigates the entire binge. But my love, like at the end of the day, your body keeps the score. Your body freaking does know, and the numbers do matter. And what does happen, right, that even if you were to say like you were to exercise off the additional calories that you've had and you were to do it perfectly, which for the record, your Apple Watch is not perfect and it's not down to a science there. But what's actually happening, right, is that your body image is going to be really fluctuating. So it means that you're going to maybe feel lean on one day and then feel really puffy the next. Your energy levels are going to be up and they're going to be down. Your dopamine levels are going to be up and down. Your cortisol is going to go crazy. At the end of the day, you're doing all these little tweaks and changes and you're trying to control the numbers so much. And then you wonder why you feel so mentally taxed. This is not the way to treat your body, and it's not the way to treat yourself. Also off the back of this, right, if we think about, you don't want to be food focused, but then this is how you're treating your food and your body, and you're like manipulating the numbers so much. That is why you're so food focused. So what we need to instead do is deliberately choose to have a little bit more food. Now, I'm not going to tell you to like increase your calories by 2000 a day. I know it feels scary, but simply just ask yourself, if I felt great in my skin, am I having like normal freaking shit? And really, I just want to ask yourself this question, and I want you to just pause on this. Ask yourself, like, am I still having the low calorie keto bread, or what would it feel like if I just had the freaking rye slice of bread that I wanted? And if I just forgot about the freaking calories, do I think that I might leave that meal and feel a little bit more satisfied? Yes. And do not tell yourself like, oh, but Sherry, the cauliflower pizza base does taste kind of, no, it fucking doesn't taste the same. And you are not as satisfied afterwards. And afterwards, you're still thinking about food, not only because the calories were way less, but also you're not satisfied. You don't feel as though you're that girl that gets to have the pizza and you only wish that you were. Well, let's choose to be that girl that does have the pizza. You don't need to have all of the pizza, but have 2 or 3 slices. Practice saying yes to the thing that actually has the cheese on there. Say yes to having the barmy with your partner on a Saturday morning. Say yes to that, and then practicing noticing when you get to a certain degree of fullness that you're like, oh, I could potentially stop right now. And if I did not know the calories, would it feel still good to finish here, right? Let's say I was over, let's say I was under. Does it just feel as though this is where my body might be happy? And I would really love to invite you to begin to do this. So not only increasing your variety, but increasing your calories just a little bit, as well as just taking your mind off them a little bit. So simply thinking about basic breakfast, carbs and protein. If you're having yogurt and some fruit and a bit of honey, great. Where is the carb source there? Can we pop a banana and a little drizzle of granola on top? Give yourself a degree of texture, some more taste. Literally let it hit the craving and then move on with your day. And notice, wow, when I just like don't overcomplicate it as much and I'm coming into lunch, can I notice that I've actually had a great morning? I not only had something that was way more satisfying, but it also meant that I like got into lunch and I wasn't as hungry, as opposed to constantly trying to have like the lowest calorie option. And then you come into lunch and you're like, oh my God, it's 12:01 and I've got to sit down in the cafeteria and have my lunch, and I need to not let anyone talk to me. I need to put Netflix on my phone and I've got to be super self. Imagine if you just like had great food and you were super social and you were able to sit there with your girlfriends and chit chat about their weekend plans, and they brought up going out for an Aperol and you were like, heck yes. Imagine if you lived your life like that, right? You can actually do that, but you cannot do it on such low calories. And remembering, if you were doing this and then you were also doing the mindset work and you were no longer binging, you're no longer having these big fucking blowouts with thousands of extra calories, meaning that you're simply increasing your calories a little bit throughout the day, giving yourself more energy, more presence, more joy, more happiness, more satisfaction, more everything. You're actually living a freaking incredible life. And you're also not binging. So you're not having to go to the gym and spend hours doing cardio. You're not having to go on these crazy long runs to try and undo any damage. Think about the lifestyle that you're actually living, right? You're not actually having additional calories because you're not binging anymore. Now, this is where a lot of girls will say, yeah, but Sherry, what if I keep binging? And then now I'm having more throughout the day and then I'm also blowing out on the weekend. Well, what I'm gonna say back to you is that maybe you'll do that once or twice, but because, as we mentioned earlier, because we don't have this wild card anymore, you might do that once or twice. You will notice your urge decrease very freaking quickly if you're increasing your food intake. And if you were to binge, you're not changing your next day's food. you will begin to notice that that urge significantly reduces, because now we're not only way less hungry, but you also do not have a wild card. You also now know that food is coming in the morning. So your all or nothing mindset is way, way, way more manageable. You're naturally feeling more confident and in control. You're naturally feeling more like you're thinking with your prefrontal cortex. So you're literally stepping into what a binge-free self and the binge-free version of yourself, you're stepping into her life and how she's treating herself. So can we see how there's certain things that we need to start doing that put you into a state where you're naturally going to feel way less inclined to binge? And this is where I always also shift my girls' mindsets, is that we don't want to just focus on not binging. We're focusing on being a woman and taking care of herself properly, human-wise, movement-wise as well, which is part of the human pillar that I focus on. So we always focus on 3 pillars: human, head, and heart. But you're also thinking like that version of yourself that is binge-free. You're also emotionally, you're feeling your feelings and you're being introspective and you're noticing when you feel heightened or activated, and you're managing your stress really well. You're taking care of yourself like the version of yourself who is binge-free, who doesn't lean or require huge degrees of food intake to give herself something to do. She doesn't use food to procrastinate. You're living the lifestyle that she would be living, right? This is really important. Instead of focusing on not binging, focus on being the kind of woman that doesn't even do these kind of things with food. Now, before I rant any longer, let's dive into the 5th crazy thing that I used to do, and how, if this is something that you're currently doing, how we can get you out of doing it and into that binge-free life. So it's actually quite hard to pick a 5th one, because there's actually even more crazy things that I used to do, but probably the most common one that you might be noticing yourself do right now is that you're self-isolating. Now, I totally understand why you might be doing this right now, and I feel for my 18-year-old self that was really heavily stuck in her binge-restrict cycle. 18 to honestly about 21, 22, where there are multiple years where I didn't even go to my best girlfriend's birthdays. I didn't go to certain social events with my partner at the time. I didn't do a lot of things and I didn't live life. I honestly didn't even go to some family events and dinners because I was either coming off the back of a binge, or I was nervous that it would steer me off track from my low calorie day or my good week streak that I was having. And then what would end up happening is I'd end up binging anyway. Like I mentioned, I understand why we can get stuck in this trap, but let's be honest, you self-isolating is actually part of the problem. It's because what's happening is that because you're not feeling emotionally connected with the people in your life, what's probably happening is you're creating these limiting beliefs that no one cares about me, everyone's judging me, what if people notice my weight gain, what if people notice this and that, I should be at the gym, I don't want to go off track. You self-isolating is actually creating more issues that then mean that you're leaning on food to give yourself something to do. It's giving you a distraction from either the negative thoughts in your head or the lack of social connections that you do have. And food is then almost feeling like a best friend for you. So instead of going out socially and then coming home and feeling really connected and having made a memory with your girlfriends, or having gone on a date of some kind, or even just gone on a family holiday, instead you're staying home and you're like ruminating in this feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I am self-isolating, my girlfriend's out making memories and I'm not there, and even if I was there, I wouldn't look the way that I want to look, and they're all connecting and I'm not, and they probably don't even realize that I'm not there. And like I ended up feeling so sorry for myself because I wasn't part of a lot of memories, but I was the one that did that to myself, and I made it a self-fulfilling prophecy, unfortunately, where essentially I bit by bit was almost removed from those social interactions and those social circles. And that's really sad, because it meant that the way that I was eating, my toxic relationship with food, and then also myself, meant that I missed out on so many memories at the time, right? And fortunately, I've been able to reconnect with a lot of these people, and it's beautiful now. But it just does mean that you self-isolating right now because you don't feel great in your skin or about yourself, or you don't feel confident, by further self-isolating and not changing anything, it means that you're probably then leaning on food even harder. You're still binging anyway. So you not going didn't actually serve the purpose of like not steering you off track. It probably steered you off track even more, because now you stayed home and then you've binged anyway. And then you're thinking, well, frick, I could have just gone out for pizza and wine with the girls. And if I'd actually just had that and then come home, I would have ended up having less calories than my binge anyway. And my binge was probably on cereal and peanut butter, as opposed to actually going out and having the awesome margarita pizza with Lucy or whoever it is that you want to go out with, right? So just a really key reminder here, if you're currently noticing that you're self-isolating, I want to really encourage you to remember that the people that you're probably wanting to spend time with, they probably don't fucking care what you look like. They're probably just really concerned about you living your best life. And honestly, I love to always use this frame, they're probably not even thinking about you. Everyone is in the spotlight in their head. The same way that you think that you're in the spotlight in other people's lives, they probably think the same. They probably think that you're thinking about their body, you're thinking about their goals, you're thinking about their life. Odds are you're not, right? You're watching this video and you are thinking about you in your life, your issues, your challenges, your problems, how you want to navigate your goals. So at the end of the day, we need to do what is best for you, meaning that we need to take ourselves out of the spotlight. We need to decide to actually go and put ourselves in that space and trust that the people that are around you, they don't care what you look like. They don't care about your jean size. They don't care if you've gone up a jean size. They care, right, about you and the fact that you're finding it challenging. Let's not forget about that. But they don't care in the sense that like that's all that matters for them. They care about your perspective, your energy, your laughter, your funniness, your experiences. They want you to share how your week's been. They care about you, and you is not what you look like. You are so much more. I always say this to my girls, the least interesting thing about you is the way that you look. The least interesting thing about me is the way that I look at my body fat percentage. I know that I'm appreciated for the love that I give, the perspective that I give, the care that I give, the attention that I give, my perspective, my mindset, my mentorship, whatever. That is what matters to the people around me that I love and that love me. They care about my heart and what I bring to the table. That is what they appreciate about me. They don't care about the way that I look. And if that is actually the most important thing to them, the way that I look or my body fat percentage, if that is the most important thing. I'm not saying that obviously the way that we look doesn't matter, right? Of course it matters for your own confidence. Then we can have the whole attractiveness chat and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, the people in your life that love you, the way that you look is not why they love you. They love you for your heart and who it is that you are. And you need to give those people in your life credit for the fact that they still want you in that space, regardless of what you're going through right now. And also maybe because of it, they want to be there for you. They want to elevate your mood. They want you to feel included. That's why you were freaking invited to the social event or whatever the event it was in the first place. You weren't invited because it was a pity invite. You were invited because the opportunity came about where you got to be invited. Go to that social event. Choose to actually give yourself an emotional connection with someone. Choose to go and just fucking be the best version of yourself. Don't allow this to be something that essentially your relationship with food again takes away from your life. If I could go back in time, I would go out to those interactions. I would be myself. I would make jokes, and I would just not allow my weight gain at the time and my relationship with food to impact me. I needed to recognize that by going, it wasn't me potentially going off track. It was part of me getting back on track that was actually going out, because by going out, I could have still made a great food choice. I could have had a glass of wine, and then I could have practiced coming home and not going into the all or nothing. And I probably wouldn't have, and this is what I realized as I was exiting my binge-restrict cycle, was the more that I actually put myself in spaces like that, the less reliant I became on food to feel happy, because I would come home and I'd feel so happy because I would have had some great conversations and I'd be waking up on a Sunday feeling like my social cup was filled. And that was a beautiful, beautiful thing. So if you are someone right now that has recognized that any of those 5 things hit for you, I really want you to make sure that you go back and take away those 5 key things that you can deliberately do to make sure that you're not doing any of these crazy 5 things. And at the end of the day, girls, if you're noticing that you are doing anything else as well, you're like, oh my God, she probably doesn't do it. Trust me, I have been that person that did so many crazy things with food. But at the end of the day, the craziest thing that I did was that I let it erode my relationship with myself, my life, and honestly, everyone in my life, because I didn't do anything about it. And it's one thing, I just want to finish this video just reminding you that it is one thing to know something. It's one thing to watch a video and be really motivated by it. And don't click off before I say the rest of this and be like, I just did another magic fix. At the end of the day, you need to actually make a change, which means that you need to notice that in these moments that you have these urges, you need to decide, am I going to go through door number 2? Am I going to learn a strategy that's going to support me in no longer binging and getting these urges out of my life, so that I can actually be that person that deals with challenges head on, deals with a difficult date head on, that actually understands how to be there for herself and be there for the people in her life that she loves. If you are ready to do that, you girls know that I have a 12-week program. The link's going to be below. If you do feel as though you feel inclined to actually go, you know what, I want support and I want the right strategy, you guys know where to find me, link below. Book in for a free 30-minute call. Otherwise, you can also apply for the Thrive Academy using the link below as well. But even if you choose to not do that, that is okay. Each to their own. But at the end of the day, you have to do something different than what you're currently doing now. So all that to be said, I love you. I believe in you. I back you. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed just yet, please do click the button below so that you get notified when I do release a new video, which is now at the moment every single week. And don't forget, I also have my podcast, Time to Thrive, on Apple and Spotify. Otherwise, I'm at Ready with Sherry on Instagram. So please head on over. I'm always dancing on my stories and teaching you daily tips and tricks as to how to break free from your binge-restrict cycle. But do not forget, you can do this. You're an incredible woman, and you're under no obligation to do what you did yesterday or even an hour ago right now. You get to choose to step forward and be the best version of yourself, and we're learning how to do that together. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.